Welcome to Inspirations and Aspirations, the candid conversations with me, Ramon Chibb, here at Neuworldz. Today, we are going to welcome a very special guest, a very brilliant writer, director, creative head, producer, and I think he wears and adorns multiple hats at the same time. But the most unique thing about him is that he has been extremely successful in bringing together two very powerful industries together through his art and storytelling. Industry of films and media and the Indian defense and military together in one through his creative work and presentations. He is also the former creative head of Fox India and Nat-Geo India, and he has been brilliantly responsible for some of the amazing documentaries, military documentaries that had aired on television before. And he is also the writer, producer, and second unit director for one of the biggest aerial blockbuster movies of Bollywood, which is also one of the highest watched movies on Netflix, that is Fighter. There is much more about him that we will discover soon in this kind of conversation with Mr. Ramon Chibb.
फाइटर वो नहीं है जो अपने टारगेट अचीव करता है, वो है जो उन्हें ठोक देता है।
आप सब इंडियन एयरफोर्स के टॉप एविएटर्स हो, इसलिए आप सबको हैंड पिक करके हमने एक क्विक रिस्पांस टीम बनाई है। एक दूसरे को जानो, बॉन्ड विद ईच अदर। जंग में इंटरपर्सनल रिश्ते ही काम आएंगे।
What the hell?
Caught you, Minnie.
Arrogant.
Confident.
Deadliest terror attack.
26/11 और अब पुलवामा। इन हरकतों का मुंह तोड़ जवाब नहीं दिया, लेकिन अब बस हम पीओके एंटर कर रहे हैं। मिशन इज अ गो।
ईंट का जवाब पत्थर से देने आए हो? नहीं, धोखे का जवाब
इनकमिंग मिसाइल
बदले से। तिरंगे से खूबसूरत कफन नहीं होता।
जय हिंद।
You have brought two different worlds together. Very powerful. Bollywood, Indian movies, or even Indian television. On the other side, which is the military, and these two worlds are really separate and different. And imagine someone brings these two together on television to start with your documentaries, and then taking it to the next step. How did you make it all happen? That is something I'm really interested to know.
You keep on getting inspired by your childhood, your upbringing, all those things where you've learned, so they stay in your mind, right? And when you're young, you're very impressionable. Everything actually stays in your mind, especially as a kid. I grew up watching Dad in uniform, in the AirForce. And for me, watching Hollywood stuff, they were very authentic. They were very authentic. World War II stuff, and we were living in that cusp of the air. You still had certain traditions of Royal Air Force, and so all that starched uniforms, and it gave a lot of romance to the service. So that used to attract me a lot. And then one fine day, a Top Gun happens. It's like I'm 16 and I see Top Gun. I said, my God, somebody can do this, and then there was no brainer. I have to join in the Air Force. And as luck would have it, I learned flying and all that. And then Air Force, I was rejected by the medicals on my eyes. And they said, you're only fit for Army and the Navy. And I said, Navy mein padhai bahut hai. Though Navy had aviation, Army also had aviation, but in a smaller way. It had helicopters and artillery as observation posts. So that was that's how I ended up joining the army. There you learned so much about camaraderie, and you actually made very thick friends. They became like brothers. I don't think when brothers can be like that. I mean, it was beyond brothers. The training is tough, and when you are surviving a training through adverse conditions,
It's
your
even
bonding
stronger.
becomes very strong. A wonderful time, and then you became officers. The regiment became your family, and it was lovely. One regret was flying. Flying was just not happening. And then the army opened up on aviation corps. I said, "My God, what an opportunity!" And so I told my CEO, "Sir, I want to fly and all that." He says, "Yeah, there we are," and we were operating. So our battalion strength was 21
Mhm.
for officers, and we were operating with 7 or 8. There was that much of a shortage of officers. So he said, infantry is never going to go an officer to go to another corps when we are operating on such short strengths. And then I realized that no, I need to move on. And so then I put in my papers. My sister, who's a topper, elder sister, a year elder, she had done mass communications, and she was a documentary filmmaker. And I was roaming around life, not really knowing what to do. Uh, she said, "Why don't you try your hand at filmmaking? You used to do all those dramatics and all in college and academy. Academy also, I was part of the dramatics club. Why don't you just try it? You might enjoy it." And I started assisting her, and I started enjoying it. And I started loving the aspect of creating.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, anything to do with television or film was entertainment. Somewhere around 2003, National Geographic got in touch that they wanted to do the first local production in India. And it was the 50th year of Everest, Mount Everest, the climb of Tenzing Norgay and Sir Hillary. And they said, "Look, the Indian Army is going, and we need someone to produce it because we want to show the real aspect of training." And Indian Army was going after 25 years. So somewhere they found that there's this blend of this guy who knows military also, who knows filmmaking also, and they got in touch. At that time, my boss, Dilshad, she came up with this idea: why don't we put 5 ordinary people inside this expedition? We won't get a better insight than what a big expedition is all about, and that to learn from the army. So then we got around making that machinery going, and we ended up making India's first adventure reality show, which is Mission Everest, and set the ball rolling for the missions to happen. A year later, our boss said, "Oh, this has been a successful property. Let's have another mission." so, and I had been harboring dreams. The good part was that National Geographic was a big brand and a very
Yes.
respected brand.
It is.
And so it was easy to pick up the call on the forces and say, "I'm calling from National Geographic." National Geographic Television, National Geographic Magazine, Expeditions, they were all phenomenal. I mean, money didn't stop you from disseminating knowledge. So that brand gave me a lot of confidence to actually approach the Air Force, and Air Force immediately saw the value in it. The stereotypical image of the forces. There was not much stuff coming out of the forces. And I used to always feel, if not glorified, at least show them. Once I got the green signal, we met the chief, and he was very forthcoming. And he said, "Yes, I think it's needed." And he said, "Yeah, we'll give you support, make a good series about us." That's also the vision of the chief at that time, Air Marshal Tyagi. Besides external motivation, internal motivation was also very good. Internally, when I see my life playing out, and it actually motivates me to perform better inside an organization too.
Exactly.
So we ended up going, and then we did everything, and I thought we got great learnings, great insights. We besides filmmakers, I got to learn so much about the Air Force, and suddenly a lot of things were making sense. In the army, uh, we had close relationships with the Air Force.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to call them for air support and stuff. So we had to do some cross courses to be in sync with them. But this was another level. This was another level, and my show at that time, which I had devised, was uh, it was going across the gamut. So it was showing how a normal candidate gets selected into the armed forces. What are the psychological tests? What are the physical tests he goes through? Right to the medicals, where quite a few guys got rejected at that time. Good television-friendly faces got rejected. And then going into the academy, Air Force Academy in Hyderabad, then going into a fighter base, fighter squadron, transport squadron, helicopter squadron, air defense, all the aspects of the forces. And these kids went through them. They experienced them. And then we used to task them. They used to learn a few things about them, the basics about it. We used to task them. So that gave a lot of learning to the to the audiences also, because it demystified that it's not such a technical thing that I should be scared of, in any way. And what I think the armed forces does best is, and what we showed in Fighter also, was one of the key things about armed forces is practice, practice, and more practice. That is it. So it will stay in your mind. Nothing what I did in the army has got out ever. It's been 30 years, right? It doesn't. So that was one thing which is very nicely drilled.
Yeah.
And it did seem daunting whenever they would get some technical task. Even actually in one of the tasks, we made them sit in the pilot in command as an AN-32 pilot. So they had to fly the aircraft straight and level, and then they had to do a 360-degree turn. Now, just imagine a youngster, 20-year-old guy, suddenly sees a big aircraft. Of course,
Transport aircraft like that.
and he sits down, and he actually got the feel. He and she both got the feel, that you don't realize the wind, how it affects. Because when you look at that aircraft, even when I was a kid, yeah, that's such a huge thing. How can that man control it? It touches down so beautifully. And it's actually huge. And I grew up watching Dakotas. Dakotas were like tail wheel. So their nose was only like that, the attitude was like this of the aircraft. So when it just come down, and then you see, and then it goes like this. I said, how is the pilot seeing? He must be looking up in the air, and the ground is like that, sitting. So all the things, very fascinating it was. And then when I learned flying, I said, oh, it's actually practice, practice, and more practice. That was the mantra.
You brought that very beautifully in the film also, where there is a dialogue that says, "The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war," and which is I think, सारे instructors बोलते ही है कभी ना कभी.
So that is what
I am very intrigued to ask you this. What were some of these actual lessons that you had actually experienced, like maybe your CEO or someone who told you, and you actually included that in the movie, which is so practically part of the transition from military to the movie?
Actually, that's all of it in some form or the other has happened to officers of a unit, right? The CEO's first briefing, he setting the record straight. मैं ये हूँ, तुम ये हो, ठीक है? याद रख लेना. And also telling us we are a team. Bond, very important to bond. In an academy, it becomes very natural to bond because you're put in that situation together. You're learning together. You are together, and you go through it. Bonding is a natural
Phenomena.
phenomena. And when you put in tough situations, you and you have to come out as a team, victory as a team. You learn by experience the strength and weaknesses of your colleagues. The training is designed in such a way that these qualities will come out. You will become a team. There will be someone who will start taking the lead. So all those things come out. So very similar, this happens right through your career, right? So when you come into a unit, now this is a new team formed, which has come out there called Air Dragons. And there are various people who come together because they're the best of the best in their professions. And they have to be the first responders on the LOC. And Rocky has been given the task of putting this team together. So he just reminds them at that time that jang mein interpersonal rishte hi kaam aate hain, so bond. And because he knows that you've got to start learning strengths and weaknesses of your friends, their attitudes, and that's how you'll push each other when the time comes. If you just have a thought on it, Patty and Taj were postmates. They knew each other as kids too. They've come back. So now that's where subtly you see Patty's individualistic attitude. Superiority complex, that not even superiority complex, I would say that it was more that I'll do it, yeah, I can do it. It's easy for me.
Yeah.
So what happens is that confidence sometimes doesn't give a chance to your colleagues only.
The story, the real story, Operation Bandar, and the real incident that happened, the Pulwama attack and the counter attack, Operation Bandar. That's a true story. That's a real incident that happened. How about the characters? Are they real? Are they inspired by real Air Force
Actually,
officers?
sorry to disappoint you there, but the characters are not inspired by Pulwama or Balakot strikes. The characters are inspired by all of Air Force. So the thing is that what Wing Commander Abhinandan had done in the Balakot, in the Swift Retort at that time, would have probably been done by another also. So that is the training, and that's the strength of the training, and that's the strength of the service. Hence, I feel this film was inspired by the Air Force, as such. Pulwama and Balakot were added, though I wrote it much earlier. 2015-16, we'd written it and finished it. Pulwama happened in 19. The strikes happened in 2019, in Feb 2019. We put that in. That we should give the audience an understanding of what happened. We didn't deviate from our characters, which we had set up and written, because somewhere we got convinced that this is the real way to actually show the force and how it had two. It had marriage of two worlds, like you say, right? Siddharth Anand's world of commercial cinema, which is what attracted me to him, was that it will get noticed by the masses. It will get consumed by the masses. And all big actors want to work with him. He makes them look very good. So it is like, that is, and he's a big cinema guy. So as it is, Air Force is a, big world. He just makes it larger. He's got that cinematic vision, So it was the right fit for me, in that way, that this marriage is great. So when all of this characters and all that come out, it's okay, and this is a real incident happened from Srinagar. So it's a great way for us to also tell the audiences what happened while not going into the characters of that operation.
Yeah.
So that was what it was.
that I think what I also really liked about your storytelling is that firstly, abhi aapne jo bataya, like you brought in a real incident because Pulwama attack was a real horrific terrorist attack that had happened on our forces, and then Indian Air Force's counterattack, the Balakot strike, which was also the real thing. Like they literally did the whole thing within 20 minutes, and the world had no idea what had gone. Sab kuch ho gaya, and it was
Yeah.
done, and that was also the reality that was shown. But the second half of the film, you also brought in incidences that had happened way before, but those were also realities, a little fictionized, but things that happened with Captain Saurabh Kalia or Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa and Squadron Leader Ajay Ahuja, who were gunned down. And these were actual incidents that happened before the Kargil war. Not many Indians would know because a lot of these did not make it to the news. A lot of these did not make it to the newspapers, or even people were even born after those times. So they were not aware. So your story brought back certain real sad incidents which Indians should be aware of.
Yes,
Glad to throw some light on that.
like Saurabh Kalia's incident. Yes, we showed Bash coming back in that way. I remember when it happened, we were all very enraged at that time, and things. You don't need to be part of the army to be enraged about it. It wasn't human. This is how they returned the POW at that time. Disseminate knowledge to our audiences ki aisa hua tha, so it probably went on that front. When you see Patty and gang come back from Jammu and they see those bodies of those chaps in the airport being transported to Delhi hospital and all that on the tarmac, they are filled with rage. They are filled with rage. Then cinematically, we added the fact that while going, they saw the CRPF convoy. So that is more from the audience perspective to relate to it. But in reality, I don't need to know that CRPF Jawan to feel angry. So
Exactly.
that thing. So certain things you simplify for the audience because you've got to take the audience along with them to feel the emotion you are feeling. So the audience stay as invested in it as you are invested in while making it or have been in real life. So hence those incidences came in.
Yeah. But I think your ability to tell the story, especially real incidents and different incidents, not just like something that happened at one point of time across different times, and you bring them together. So I'm trying to ask, how did you visualize the whole thing? Because you started writing long before, then an incident happened later. You brought that in, so and then you put that all in 2 hours.
No,
How
it was
did you bring all that skill into one plate?
it is actually the emotion you want the audience to feel. Because so when you're writing a script or when you're writing anything, you start with a blank paper. You have something in mind and you start writing. But you have to transport yourself to that world. You cannot be इधर भी फोन आ रहा है ये भी हो रहा है नहीं हो सकता आप उस दुनिया में होते you start being those characters, you start living those characters. You have one holistic picture when you start writing. After that, when you start getting into it, then ideas start happening. And then your first draft is almost 3 hours every time. You are so close to it, आप तो घुस जाते हो ना. Until you get a third person perspective, you don't really know. So my biggest bouncing board is my wife. She's very good at script appreciation. She's very good at that. Appreciation doesn't mean appreciating. Appreciating, I mean, means doctoring beautifully or giving me a perspective. Especially when I'm writing armed forces stuff, I get a very nice wide-eyed civilian view from her. So that helps me a lot to understand what the audiences are feeling. Like when the Balakot strike was planned, We haven't shown. I would say I've shown 10% of it, not even 10, maybe 5%. Honestly, the script originally, everything was there. Like right from February 14th to 26th, those 12 days, when the strike was planned, it moved like one of the most secret machineries ever.
Yeah.
Even in the Air Force, only people who needed to know knew about it. Till the last day, on 26th also, 25th, Prime Minister's on a jungle safari, some mundane stuff. Chief of Western Air Command is retiring. Nothing is happening in Srinagar. 5 days back, some thousands of troops are going by road to Srinagar. Pakistan is thinking, oh my God, I don't know what, there's some war brewing. Nobody in their wildest dream would think that 12 Mirage aircrafts will take out from center of India. Mirage don't have so much endurance that they can go from Gwalior right till Balakot, come back. So over Agra, they are refueled mid-air. The escort. So, there are lots of these things which happened and all there in the script. On the time of the strike, few aircraft from Ambala, fighter aircraft from Ambala go and do a run on LOC in Punjab. So they were thinking there's some thrust happening there. So it's like
A lot of distraction created there where
yeah, it's actually a very phenomenal thing, but cannot fit in a commercial film.
Fighter 2 coming up with all these in place, because that would be really interesting.
Fighter 2 will definitely happen, but I used to watch Hollywood films also. If I've watched Guns of Navron, now let me do a little research and let me make some more authentic documentaries on artillery guns and their positions in the cliffs and how they hid during the World War II, and was Guns of Navron true? It sets me to research. It sets me to know more about it. It sets the curious mind going. It can set you thinking. This kind of a platform gives it a wide reach, which opens your mind.
Mission Air Force and Mission Army were, documentaries I watched. Not all my friends watched, so I was like, you should watch. It's so intriguing. It's so beautiful. But you talk about Fighter, everyone watched because it's commercial. So
Yes.
how many more such movies are you going to come up with?
We can do movies. There are lots of things which go into it, economics, actors, all those kind of things. So yeah, I hope there are more of it. I want to make more of it. That's the power of cinema, right? It'll tell you the most complex thing in the simplest manner for all the audiences to assimilate. By and large, a large section of audience gets to watch it. So if you can tickle their mind also, if it's told in an entertaining way, it'll stay in your mind.
Yeah, especially something which is visually appealing, people will love to watch it over and over again. That people feel that filmmaking and acting and all is very easy. It's not really easy because I think I believe even the actors have to pour in a lot when they go into the into the movies. So tell us some behind the scenes experiences in making your Fighter.
There's a difference between a star and an actor, they say, right? But I'll tell you what, there's actually no difference. Yeah, that actor is the star because he became that character. And I saw the dedication of Ritik, Anil sir, and Deepika. They wanted to get in the skin of the characters. Yeah, like Ritik. He went through simulator training in the Su-30 cockpit. He spent hours with the pilots out there. Their mannerisms, their talking styles. He would just, those youngsters were very happy. They're hanging out with Hrithik Roshan.
Yeah.
And then when he would come to the set, he would come as Patty. It was Patty there. Anil sir. He's a legend. That when he landed in Tezpur, he landed and the first thing he tells me, who's the CEO here? So, so मैंने कहा चलो मिलाता हूँ नहीं नहीं चलो 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 ये सब क्या करना है इधर चलो let's go straight we get into the car we go into the CEO's office and अब तुम लोग जाओ it's me and him and he just spent time with that CEO of that squadron all the time. He kept on. He watched him give briefing. He became a fly on the wall. Whatever was happening, every time his shoot would come up, he would practice. He would, agar if he's out of the country, then phone call. Chal bhai, let's go do rehearsal. The phenomenal actor he is. He used to come to the set dressed up as Rocky, and you had this persona of Rocky in mind. At least I did, and he would come and suddenly, yeah, he's a joke. He would joke around. He would make the set so light and everything. And suddenly, action ke time pe, he would get into the character like this with his practice. Well, he was awesome. Deepika again. Deepika also, she landed there. There were quite a few of these lady pilots there. She says, I want one joint to my head. When she sat down in that cockpit, it looked like it was built for her. But I'm sure in her mind, she would have made a lot of effort to do it. She was, and for me, suddenly she became that squad leader, Meenal Rathore, so beautifully. And when I had written the script, for me, it was Ritik and Deepika as Patty and Minnie always, because I somehow visualize these two good-looking, fit people wearing the AirForce uniform.
Uniform. So you literally manifested that. You have been
Yes.
manifesting that. And so what kind of content are you looking forward to in your next few projects?
I like real military stuff, and I like comedies. So these are two worlds I will try my best to create.
So your role behind the scenes as a writer, as a producer, as a director, that's all been there. How was your experience in front of the camera? Because you were brilliant.
Oh,
Share
that was
something about
the
that.
that was the scariest thing actually of this whole experience.
Why?
Because I've never faced camera. So, and then you're telling me to sit in front of Hrithik Roshan. You know, all those things are not the easiest to do, you know.
The good thing is you're not a girl. Otherwise, you would have been crushing right there.
No, no, that was actually also Siddharth Anand. Yeah. Somehow, lots of auditions had come to us, and he was not finding the fact कि यार ये नहीं मेरे को लग रहा जैसे तू नरेट करता है ना मेरे को कि ऐसे बोलेगा वैसे ही वो मेरे को नहीं दिख रहा तू ही कर दे. So it was that actually more of it. Lots of auditions that come, lots of you keep on taking acha, he'll be the thing, but he wasn't liking them, and then somehow it got stuck in his head. Now how I used to narrate to him that this is how he's going to talk and he's going to come and you only
Glad
do
you
it.
did. Glad
Oh
you
yes,
did.
I had to remember lines which I had written, you know, and I couldn't
How
remember them.
scary is that? You
It
wrote
was
and you have to remember those lines. How scary
yeah,
is
I wrote them and then I have to remember those lines and say it like I have to say it. So there was an AD with us who was very good. So I said to Chal, practice kar mere saath. And I started practicing with him and I couldn't remember my lines. So then he got that brainwave. He said, what are you doing? जैसे आप हमारे से बात करते हो वैसे करो ना. He's Patty, he's not Hrithik Roshan. So let me get my scenarios right.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. You simplify it and, you look at it in a normal view because the moment you think you're sitting in front of Hrithik Roshan, because, oh my God.
It does. You know, he's a legend of an actor. He's done such great work and very kind. Yeah. I remember me because I'm taking my time. We will, for over the shoulder shots and all, we'll use a body double and put an action. Ritik said, no, I will be there with you. He was like, and I will give the cues. He didn't have any dialogue in the first scene. He had expression changes. What discussed the scene? He did. He says, I like the way we are thinking. and I will give those expressions, and I will stay for the cue. So don't get hassled. Take as long as you want, and that was comforting. That was very comforting. But yeah, he put me to ease. He just put me to ease. So by the time I came to that, doing that second scene was all right. That ATC wala, there was no Hrithik Roshan. There was no third scene. I had become a veteran. So
Yeah, the passing outs.
the passing out of Sardar, the pug when I'm wearing.
Your career transition has been unique. You have been an officer in the army. You grew up in the Air Force background, army officer. Then you got into filmmaking. I mean, so what was that career transition like?
And the army taught me one of the biggest thing was adaptability. If you take a little interest, you will not be a fish out of water anywhere, actually. And that is something that the armed forces taught you very well, and it taught you very well because you were never static in any place out there. You had to move, make new teams, bond with each other, interpersonal relationship. He kaam aayenge, different kinds of environment, different kinds of jobs. You have to start adapting, and you have to see. You have to be almost as good as joining the job running. So that was something which probably I would give it to my upbringing, that I wouldn't be scared of going anywhere. I will be able, if I like it, I will adapt. It's a dream to be part of this industry.
So what have been some of your best memories from this film? Best memories. अगर 3 ऐसे best memories दिया जाए तो I know you have plenty, but what could be the best?
मेरे लिए तो वैसे ही this is a dream come true, yeah. So I mean, related to the profession I got into, remember I couldn't be a fighter pilot. And then that was my dream. I couldn't be one. And I actually got to live it in,
Different
I
way.
think, the best way possible. There is no other way. If you tell me, my first brush with fighter flying was with National Geographic. You cannot get more in depth. And the second one is with the top stars of this country. You cannot go. So I really can't pick a moment, but the whole point is that in this process, I've got to live my dream, and I've got to live my dream the best way possible.
आप assistant hire कर रहे हो? Like NRIs would work. Because I had been exactly that kind of person. Class 6 में थी मैं, जब मैं मेरे friends अपने room में Barbie dolls और वो सब लगवाते थे. I used to draw MiG-21s and MiG-24s and MiG-27s and अपने assistant के लिए.
I will keep this in mind 100%.
I'll leave everything and I'll be there to, आप कुछ भी चाय वाय सर्व करना है या कुछ भी करना है आप रख लो. I'll be happily there.
Done.
Because your work really is amazing. I think that is something I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate. बहुत time के बाद, someone has brought these two worlds together with a true story, not like just fictionized, true story, and really glorified the country so well in front of the world. That has been amazing. Like, you did it, sir. You
No, but I'll tell you what.
brilliantly brought it up on screen. Thank you from the country.
No, thank you so much for saying this, but I give the credit where it's due. It's actually those. See, you as a writer or a producer or someone who's making it can make it happen to an extent. But it is the Hrithik Roshan, the Deepika Padukone, and Anil Kapoor, and the other star cast, the Sanjay Das, Karan, and Siddharth Anand. They all believing in it to make it like it is. I think it is phenomenal teamwork. I mean, Sachit in his photography, my God, yeah, you breathe Srinagar, or it is those cockpit shots. There's a guy called Vishal Anand. He's Canada based. He did the VFX supervision. He got into fighter flying. he got into fighter flying कि क्या होगा, and उसने मेरा दिमाग जितना खाया है, I was so happy.
I have to salute you because you have brought in the stories of, our armed forces beautifully in the movies.
Trying.
Please keep bringing more and more.
Yes.
What is your
ठीक
message
है.
for the youth? Kuch something, last words of inspiration and last words of, thing before you part for tonight.
I don't know, yeah. I mean, I to just now just believe in the power of dreams. Yeah, so just carry on dreaming, and it'll happen. It'll happen.
That's great. So keep dreaming, right? So keep dreaming and aiming
Yes.
for the skies, and you will get there. Right?
Yes, always.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. That very inspirational conversation. And we will wait for more magic to come from your side. We wish you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.